This is the new 10.5-inch iPad Pro, notable not only for being packed to the brim with Apple's latest mobile hardware, but also for representing an all-new device size for the manufacturer, falling between the regular 9.7-inch iPad and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Does that make this a sweet spot for users who crave the power of Apple's highest-end tablet, but want a device that's not too unwieldy to carry around? I'm Stephen Shank with PhoneArena, bringing you some answers as I review the 10.5-inch iPad Pro.
Apple's never been a company to approach change casually, and that's no more apparent than with the size options it offers for its mobile lineup. Rather than overwhelm consumers with too many choices, it has a habit of paring things down to a select few. Back in 2015, though, Apple decided it was finally time to push its tablets to new size heights with the introduction of the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And while that behemoth of a tablet is still sticking around, this year the company's adding another option that comes in north of a standard 9.7-inch iPad, the new 10.5-inch iPad Pro. Despite the larger screen size, this tablet isn't much more massive than the 9.7-inch iPad Pro replaces, measuring just a centimeter taller and half a centimeter wider than its predecessor. Much of that is thanks to a narrower bezel, helping to deliver a larger screen with a minimal increase in external dimensions. And while the face of this new iPad is understandably larger than a 9.7-inch model, the tablet's no thicker as a consequence, measuring the very same 6.1 millimeters. That slight increase in size notwithstanding, Apple's not doing much to change its iPad Pro design here. We've got the same volume controls on the right, power button up top, and Touch ID home button below the screen. And unlike on the iPhone 7, this is still the classic, physical, clicky style button. The tablet's top and bottom edges also house its quad speaker array. The Lightning port lives down between the bottom two speaker grills, and up top we've got an analog headphone jack. That's right, despite being thinner than an iPhone, there's still room to support your favorite pair of headphones. Like the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, Apple's selling this model in your choice of silver, space gray gold, and rose gold. That last option is one you won't get on a larger iPad Pro. Even though this 10.5-incher is larger than a standard iPad, the tablet never feels too big. And if you were to pick this model up instead of the 9.7-inch model, it would probably take you a moment to even realize something was different. For a tablet this size, that's of critical importance, and Apple very much succeeds at giving us an iPad with a larger screen that doesn't cross any comfort boundaries. That this iPad has an interesting new screen size is one thing, but it would be missing the point as to that display's main appeal. The 1668 by 2224 resolution panel is nice and sharp, with the same pixel density as the larger 12.9-inch iPad Pro. But maybe more importantly, it is bright and beautiful. Brightness levels compete favorably with some of the best performing smartphones, and outdoor usage is rarely a problem. Color reproduction is also phenomenal, and the iPad Pro steers clear of many of the oversaturation issues other mobile devices suffer from. Apple also introduces its ProMotion tech with this screen, generating refresh rates as high as 120 Hz. The screen's smooth, don't get us wrong, but it's not going to change the way you see most apps. It may help generate more natural feeling interactions when using the Apple Pencil, but for the purposes of this review, we're looking at the iPad Pro alone, without any extra accessories. Speaking of smoothly scrolling screens, this new generation of iPad Pro marks the arrival of Apple's new A10X chip, and the performance it offers, both in terms of raw number crunching and rendering all manner of graphics, is untouched by other mobile devices. Even full-blown laptops won't necessarily be on the same level. This all makes using the iPad Pro a really pleasant experience. The only downside is that doing so is likely to make your phone feel slow in comparison. The 4GB of RAM Apple gives each iPad Pro proves to be nice and adequate for multitasking, even if the iOS split-screen system is a little less than graceful. Unlike the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, apps here have to pare down their on-screen UI elements to fit on the smaller display. It's a bit frustrating how you can only choose between a couple options for how much screen size each app takes up. While it won't change everything, the forthcoming release of iOS 11 is set to deliver a number of tablet-friendly enhancements, so you do have the benefit of looking forward to better times. We checked out the iPad Pro in its 64GB Wi-Fi only configuration, which runs about $650. From there, you can step up to either 256 gigs of storage for $750 or a massive 512 gigs for $950, though obviously all without microSD expansion. Of the three, 256GB feels like the best price-storage balance, but if you really don't see yourself needing all that space, don't feel bad about settling for 64. and no matter which option you choose, you can also add cellular connectivity for an additional $130. Like earlier iPad Pro models, the 10.5-incher has a quad speaker array. If you haven't heard an iPad Pro before, you may be thinking, so what? It's got a bunch of speakers, but it's so thin, I mean, how great could they actually sound? Well, the answer is better than you could probably imagine, and these are easily some of our favorite speakers on a mobile device. They're loud, but also crisp and clear, delivering both detailed treble and thumping bass. And much like the tablet's second-to-none speed, these speakers are quickly going to have you looking at most other phones and tablets in abject disappointment. A big tablet like this has a lot of potential when it comes to battery life, and while hardware like a display this size can represent high power demands, that's often balanced out by there being enough room to squeeze in a nicely sized battery. Here, Apple fits in an 8,100 mAh component, which in our custom endurance test managed to power the tablet for over 10 hours. Not bad at all, and making the tablet feel pretty reliable for day-long usage. The one hiccup there, and it's not exactly a small one, is that recharge times are on the slower side, and you're going to have to set aside well over 3 hours to fill things back up after running the iPad Pro down to 0. Okay, let's talk cameras. Tablets may be unwieldy for taking photos even when they're on the smaller side, and this iPad Pro most certainly is not, but you know what? You'd be doing yourself a disservice if you missed capturing an important moment just because you didn't want to be one of those tablet photography guys. Here's why. The camera on the iPad Pro is fantastic. 12 megapixel sensor, f1.8 aperture, optical stabilization. We're looking at the same kind of hardware we got on the iPhone 7. And just like on that phone, this tablet takes some effortless, natural-looking, really high-quality photos. That's just as true day and night, and in addition to pic shot with the main camera looking good, even the front-facing 7-megapixel selfie cam produces some nice clean shots you'll be proud to share. If there's one weak point here, it's in video recording, and while the picture looks good, supporting filming modes up to 4K, we had issues both with audio sounding muted and far away, even when standing right next to the tablet, as well as some struggles focusing on really up-close subjects.
It's hard to find a lot of things not to like about the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. It's got a great screen, great performance, great speakers, and a killer camera. The most glaring flaws, like slow recharge times and those audio issues while shooting video, are relatively easy to forgive, and the forthcoming arrival of iOS 11 should give the tablet's software a shot in the arm. Sure, the price can get a little steep, especially as you pile on storage and cellular connectivity, but this is easily the best iPad option out there right now, striking a great balance between size, performance, and pricing. I'm Stephen Shank with PhoneArena. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming reviews.